Go raid your boyfriend or your husband's closet, because today we're doing another button-down refashion. Okay, first question. Do you guys say button up or button down? I think I switch back and forth. I know how much you guys have loved my button-down refashions in the past. I think I have 2 others, so if you haven't seen those already, be sure to go to my page and look for them. So I thought that I would come up with another refashion to do with a classic button-up. Today's refashion was inspired by this picture I found on Pinterest, and I just loved her shirt and I loved the ruching detail down the front. And I thought, oh, I think this would be the perfect detail to feature in a button-down refashion. And it worked out even better than I thought. So I'm so excited to share this trick with you guys and to show you just how easy this ruched front is to add to a button-down shirt. Okay, so first, obviously, you will need an oversized button-up. The reason I say oversized is because you will need a little bit of excess fabric for details that we are going to add. I picked up this oversized white button down with black polka dots at the thrift store for $3. Okay, so the first thing I did is I just went ahead and removed buttons from the front of the shirt just to get rid of that bulk and get them out of the way for the next thing we're going to do. So the next thing I did is I am matching up the placket down the front, that's the part with the buttons and the buttonholes, with my shirt inside out, so right sides together. I'm just lining up that placket, getting it to match perfectly, and I am going to pin it together. And then I am going to take that over to my sewing machine and sew down the left side of the placket, just to the left of the placket, making sure not to catch that seam in my new seam. I just want to create a fresh new center seam for my shirt. Okay, then I am going to lay that down on the floor and I'm going to open up that seam. So these are the 2 sides of the placket that are now on the inside of the shirt. I'm folding those down and then I am pinning them flat to the shirt. Again, this is inside out still, but I am just pinning down those seams. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew 2 more seams on either side of that center seam I created, which will create 2 casings down the front of my shirt. Now, when I did this, I made these about 1 inch wide, so I sewed 1 inch to the right and 1 inch to the left of that center seam. And now that that placket is gone, I am trying on my shirt right side out, and I'm using some tailor's chalk to mark out my new neckline. I am just doing a simple V-neck for this, so I'm just marking where the neckline will fall, the points at the shoulders, because I am going to remove these sleeves and add new sleeves so that the shirt fits better on my shape. And I am also marking underneath my arm where the bottom of the armhole will be. And lastly, I am also going to mark the bottom of the shirt where I want the hem to be. Then I am taking that shirt off, putting it on the floor, and just cutting out my new neckline based on those markings that I made, as well as cutting out the sleeves based on the new shoulder point and underarm marks that I made as well. And lastly, I am chopping off the excess at the bottom of the shirt so that it will hit at the right length that I want. Then next, I am pinning the sides of the shirt. This is again inside out. I am pinning down the sides from the bottom of the armhole to the bottom so that I am making a new side seam on both sides of the shirt because this shirt was very oversized. So this is just taking in the sides so it's a little more fitted. Okay, so next thing I am going to work on attaching the new sleeves. So I am using that old sleeve piece, just lining it up with my new armhole and just adjusting the size accordingly. I also like to open up the bottom seam of my sleeve and shorten the length a little bit. I just find that it's easier to attach when it's open like this. Next, I fold my sleeve in half and using a pin I mark the center point of the shoulder. This is where it will line up with the center shoulder seam at the armhole. So I like to pin that first. Again, this is with the sleeve right sides together with the shirt. Use pins and pull the sleeve around the entire armhole on either side, pinning as you go until it meets at the bottom of the armhole. This is where I like to close up the bottom of the sleeve, just based on where it lines up with the bottom of the armhole. So I like to sew up that excess and then just pin the completion of the sleeve to the bottom. Then I will go back and sew around that entire armhole, attaching the sleeve to the bodice. Okay, now jumping back to the front of the shirt, I am measuring that casing that I made down the front, and I misspoke earlier. It's a 1/2 inch wide, not an inch. So you're going to multiply that measurement by 4, so 1/2 inch times 4 is 2 inches, and I'm going to cut 2-inch wide strips. These will be used to make the drawstrings down the front of the shirt. You'll fold them in half lengthwise and iron that. And then you'll go back in and fold each of those sides in half towards the middle, and then you'll fold the whole thing in half again. So it's 1/4 of the width of the strip that you cut. Once you get that all ironed and pinned, ready to go, you'll just take it over to your sewing machine and do a simple top stitch down the whole thing. Then I am going to take those strips and thread them or lace them down those casings. And remember, I have 2 casings, 2 drawstrings. So I'm just putting those down through. Okay, the next step we're going to work on is finishing our neckline. And we're going to do that with a lining. So I just put a piece of excess fabric underneath my front neckline, and I am tracing that shape. Then you will go back in and cut that shape out, but making it about a 2-inch strip. And I just traced one side and then I copied it for the other side to make my front neckline. I'll sew those together, and then we'll need to switch over to the back of the neckline. So I just flip my shirt over, this is the back, and I'm going to stick another piece of fabric under and trace that back neckline shape. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut that shape out, creating kind of a 2-inch wide strip. That's that shape. And I am going to take the front neckline piece and the back neckline piece and sew them together. Then I will go ahead and with my shirt right side out, I'm going to start pinning this facing around the neckline. And one thing you want to do as you're doing neckline facing is pull the neckline facing taut, kind of stretch it as you pull around. So that's important. Your neckline facing needs to be a little bit shorter than the actual neckline. You stretch it, that just helps it lay better. So once I have that pinned in place, I will take that over to the sewing machine and just with about 5/8 seam allowance, sew around the entire thing. Then I am cutting a slit right at the V. Very important, this will help the V lay flat. And then you're going to pull the neckline facing around to the wrong side of the shirt. Once you have that pulled around, you'll iron it, pin it, and then we'll take it over the sewing machine and do a top stitch. And unfortunately, I cannot find the clips showing me hemming the bottom of the shirt or the sleeves, but that is the last final step, is just hemming all of our raw edges. All right, let's reveal the final transformation. For watching. I hope you enjoyed that refashion. As always, if you try this refashion, please let me know. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what else you'd like to see in the future. Oh, and if I didn't mention it before, This lovely piece of clothing that is on my dress form in the background of my videos is always my previous refashion project. So if you would like to see how I made this tie front dress for spring, then be sure to go one video back on my channel and check that out. Believe it or not, this dress was made from a pair of pants. So go check that out, and I think that's all I have to say. I will talk to you guys again soon, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, happy, sunshiny day. Bye, guys.
Do you guys say button up or button down? I feel like I go back and forth. Sometimes I say button up, sometimes I say button down. I don't know. Button down, button up. Button down, button up. I feel like I'm out of breath. I didn't do anything. Okay. I think it should be button down because you always start at the top, right? And button down. Does anyone start at the bottom and button up? That sounds stressful. My dad is sending me memes. LOL. More buttons up. I think I'm gonna go back to the thrift store and grab more buttons.